What is going on, Niner fans? Happy Monday. What is going on? The bye week came. The bye week's gone. The 49ers are back on the grind. And you know what? Today kind of feels like a victory Monday. I don't know about y'all, but I kind of feel like it's a victory Monday today. What's going on? How's everybody feeling? How's everybody's bye week been? I've been great. I hope everybody else is doing really good. But now it's time to get back to business, ladies and gentlemen. I hope everybody rested well. I feel like this game is going to be a big game. Obviously, the 49ers coming off a 3-game losing streak. They're playing a tough Jaguars team who also are coming off a bye. They're 6-2. It's not going to be an easy game. But the good news for the 49ers, I know that they've lost 3 in a row, but if you look at that NFC West, they crumbled last night. They scored a combined 6 points between 3 teams. The 49ers didn't play. They almost scored as many points as these other teams. It's crazy. You had the Cardinals, got crushed. The Seahawks got crushed, and the Rams got crushed. And the 49ers moved back into first place. So I know everybody's a little worried about the 3-game losing streak, but the more you look at it, after watching this weekend, the biggest thing that the 49ers have to do is win the division games. If they win the division games, they're straight. That's, if they can sweep their division and win those games, 6 games, that's a huge, step in the direction they need to go. So at the end of the day, as long as they win their division, they're good. And those, division games are so crucial. They have a game against Cardinals left. They have a game against the Rams left. They have 2 against Seahawks. But I still think the 49ers could win that division, with the way things are going. But that was a huge dub on the weekend. The Niners didn't play. I feel like, Anthony's right. They have to capitalize on this. They have to make sure that they capitalize on this momentum, because if you lose, then you just wasted a prime opportunity. So the 49ers have a huge week coming up after the bye. They've gotten healthy, and I want to talk about that. Today, the big news was obviously Chase Young makes his debut for the 49ers at practice. I mean, the vibes are insane. It's so crazy seeing all the content out there, seeing him out there rocking it up, just looking at Bosa and him reunited together. Like, you could see, I was like, oh, man, it's a different vibe. Like, Chase looks focused. He wants to go out there and rep it. Repping the 92, baby. Christine says, we called it. We called it. I said it. I said he's probably going to wear 92. His high school jersey 9, his college jersey 2. You combine them together, you get 92. Also, you can't really take a number mid-season. As much as everybody wanted him to take Kinlaw's number or Lenore, you just can't do that. It's the same thing what happened last year with Christian McCaffrey. Remember, he came in, everybody's like, he's got to get this number, that number. You can't just take numbers in the middle of the season. Like, once you're awarded a number as the season starts, that's your number, unless the player absolutely gives it up. But there's a lot of rules. And then single digit numbers. I know a lot of people said make them number 1. Defensive linemen can't make a jersey as a single number, a single digit. And now I know people are going to say Randy Gregory, he's actually listed as linebacker, outside linebacker. So he technically can get away with wearing the number 5. So if you're a defensive lineman, you can't wear a single digit number. So I like the 92. I think it's a fresh number. I mean, I like it because I called it, right? But I think that's cool, man. I saw it on Madden a couple days ago after we called it. Someone showed me a screenshot of Madden where he's wearing 92. So I was like, oh, it makes sense. It makes sense. So maybe he'll get 99 next year, right? Rob says he will get 99 next year. I mean, Kinlaw probably ain't coming back. Kinlaw ain't coming back next year. So, yeah, he might be able to get 99 next year. If the 49ers bring him back, could be a rental. We'll see how things go. But I'm absolutely excited to see Chase Young and Nick Bosa. Like, you could just feel, the vibes are just, immaculate. The vibes are so good. Like, it just feels, like I said, like a victory Monday. It feels like victory Monday. Like, let's talk about it. Okay, you get Chase Young. You're back in first place. Not only that, the 49ers, they got Deebo Samuel back at practice today. They got Sam Womack, Robert Beal, and Darrell Luter open their practice windows, and they're back at practice today. That is huge news. Big news. I feel like that is probably some of the biggest news that you could have had. They're getting reinforcements, right? The 49ers are getting healthy. And one of the things people have been wanting is cornerback depth. And now they're going to get it. Sam Womack, he looks good when he's played. I know he's had some injuries, but when he's been on that roster, he looks like he could be someone that's really solid with this team. And then you got Darrell Luter Jr., who we never even seen play. But maybe he could be a star rookie. Who knows? We don't know what we have in him. And then Robert Beal, he's kind of a guy that they can add to this defensive line and beef it up and, develop him. So, I mean, really, it's just nice to see that this team is getting healthy. Now, the only thing that didn't happen today was Trent Williams coming back to practice. We know he's dealing with an ankle injury. He's not back. We know last week they announced that Aaron Banks is not playing for a few weeks because he's got turf toe. That's a little concerning that left side of the offensive line is still a little banged up. So hopefully Trent Williams can come back. We got John Feliciano who's going to play left guard. Well, Aaron Banks is out. I feel good with Feliciano. I'm okay with him. He's been a starter in this league. He's played a little bit this year for the 49ers, and when he's played good. So, yeah, Rob says Trent did not participate in practice today. I feel like that is probably the only bad news of the day is Trent Williams not playing. But again, it's Monday. Today was a bonus practice. The first official practice that these guys have to be there is Wednesday, right? That's when things kind of matter. But also at the same time, we know Trent Williams, he can go through multiple practices, not practicing and be ready for game day. He is dealing with an ankle injury, an ankle sprain he had last week. He's had a couple of weeks to rest up and heal. So maybe he will be back this week. That is a guy that the 49ers absolutely need to have is Trent Williams. But yeah, Rob says Trent does not need practice. I agree. I don't think Trent needs it, but the fact that he would practice just tells me it's a good sign that his ankle is okay. And, sometimes you want to have a guy like that has an ankle injury or one of those weird, like, soft tissue injuries. You want him out there just to kind of see how the pain is, right? To see if he's moving all right. So that to me is the biggest, concern when you're dealing with those types of injuries. But again, I trust Trent. He's been in the league for many, many years, right? 14 years, all pro. He's a legend. He knows what his body is capable of doing. He knows what his body feels like when he's dealing with certain injuries. So, at the end of the day, I'm not too worried if he doesn't practice this week, but I want to see Trent Williams play this week because, man, that offense is so different, especially in the run game when they don't have Trent Williams. Like, they just can't run the football effectively. Trent is so good. He's so good. I don't know what the 49ers are going to do when he's gone. I don't want to think about it. Oh, man. Christine says he will be back this week. Deebo back. He will play Sunday. Deebo Samuel is so needed. I was watching some old clips. Actually, I watched the old Jaguars game, from 2021 when the 49ers and Jaguars played a couple years back. God, man, the Niners game, the 49ers really, really, really leaned on Deebo. I mean, he got this crazy touchdown. I mean, end around just crushed. It was a crazy touchdown. And I was like, oh, God, the Niners miss him so bad. And then the whole defense of the Jaguars. And again, they were young. Trevor Lawrence, he was a rookie that year. He's definitely evolved from that time. But there was a point where the defense, they just all caved in on Deebo. And then, boom, touchdown, Brandon Ayuk at the end zone. And then another one to George Kittle. That game, all the Yak brothers scored a touchdown. I remember that year. It was crazy. It was Deebo scored a touchdown. Brandon Ayuk scored a touchdown. George Kittle scored a touchdown. I was like, God, man, this team was like, when they're healthy and they're clicking, that's how the offense could be. And it was a nice show from the 49ers. Nick Bosa had a sack. I remember that game was crazy. And then a couple of years back before that, if you guys remember, 2017 hat and T-shirt game. Remember the Jaguars hat and T-shirt game when they had Jalen Ramsey on their team, and they were a young up-and-coming team, and they were talking all this mess. They said they were going to, because the Niners were not good that year, right? It was the first year Kyle Shanahan took over. I'll probably post this week. I mean, Kyle Shanahan took over the team. Jimmy was finally the quarterback, right, during his little hot streak, and everybody thought the Niners were going to get rolled over. Hat and T-shirt game. I mean, the Niners scored 44 points. They dropped 44 points on these Jaguars, who were an AFC playoff team, and they cooked them. I remember George Kittle got a touchdown. I mean, that was the Trent Taylor little rollout touchdown to him. That game was amazing. I was like, wow, Dante Johnson, the interception. I think it was a pick six. Like, bro, they were cooking them. I remember. Well, the 49ers have had some memorable games against the Jaguars, and I hope this weekend is another memorable game against the Jaguars because we need to get back on the winning side of things. It just sucks to see your team lose. Like, I was watching all these games on the weekend, and I was like, God, man, I just want to win. I just want to see the team win because you see these teams win, And it's like, man, I want that feeling again. Watching teams lose, you laugh at them, but then if you're the fan of that team that's losing, it's crushing because you're like, man, you see all the memes come up. That's how social media has changed the game. I saw all these, the Cowboys lost, and it was just meme after meme after meme. And I'm going, oh, man, let's hope the 49ers don't end up in any more memes. So Christine says, it's been a long week, and I'm ready for some 49ers football. It has been a long week, especially for the fact that the 49ers lost their last 3 games. This bye week felt so long. I think it was needed, though. I think the 49ers definitely need to regroup. But I think that it definitely is nice to know that they're back on the, game schedule week and the bye is over because we need some 49ers football in our life. Let's be honest. As fun as it was to watch games yesterday, it was boring without the Niners. I was like, oh, man, I don't care about some of those games that I was watching. I was like, I don't care about these teams. I don't care about these teams, but it was nice to watch some football. But again, first place in the division after the Niners didn't even play last week or yesterday. They didn't even play a game. And they're in first place. Julia says 5-3 is better than 3-5. Absolutely, absolutely. And again, I'm not too mad after seeing how things went and seeing how other teams play this weekend. 5-3 is a good spot to be in. Rob says it was a good time for the bye. It definitely was a good time for the bye because we did have some injuries on this team, and it allowed them to get healthier and things like that. So I think moving forward, this team has a really strong chance. A lot of teams are, getting hurt. A lot of teams are losing games. It's a grind. The NFL season is very tough. I think the one team that I feel like we have to try to keep up with is the Eagles. But man, 8-1, they got a big lead on everybody in the NFC. The NFC is wide open, and also these teams have some tough games coming up. If you look at the Eagles schedule, they have, I think, the Chiefs. They got the Bills coming up. They got the Niners. They got some tough schedules, games coming up. They got the Cowboys again. Cowboys played them tough. So I feel like the Eagles definitely have some games that they could lose, and the 49ers could catch up. But the 49ers have to win. At the end of the day, no more excuses, especially for this defense, right? With Chase Young at the helm now, I feel like this defense has no excuses. We talked about it last week, right? Steve Wilks. No excuses left for this guy. If you see, like, I excited as I am today, seeing Chase Young. At the same time, I'm like, all right, Steve Wilks, you can't mess this up because the 49ers still have to go out there and execute. They still have to go out there and do everything they need to do. They still need to go win games. Like, we can be great on paper, but paper doesn't win championships, right? They have to be able to tackle. They have to be able to make the right defensive calls, and I feel like that's a lot of it. Is just Wilks has put them in bad positions. I watched some of these games over the last couple of days on the bye week just to really, figure out what the heck's going on. I've watched these games so many times, but when you have nothing else to do and you're just sitting there watching some games, things stick out to you a lot more. I'm like, oh my God, how did he miss that? Oh my God, why was he in this position? Oh my God, how did that, just like that Cincinnati game last week when Armstead and Bosa, how the hell, I still don't know how they didn't bring down Joey Burrow on that set. Like, they had him. They had him dead to rights, man. It's just like stuff like that was why they're losing games. Like, you have to execute, be in good position, just absolutely missing plays. It was bad. So hopefully they could figure this out because the Niners, 17 points in those last 3 games. You think about it, it's like, oh, it's not bad. But in the past, the defense was able to put them in positions where they could win scoring low games. So the defense has not been up to par where it needs to be. But at the same time, the offense, you can't score 17 points and expect to win against good teams in the playoffs. But at the same time, you watch these games this weekend, Cardinals, Rams, and Seahawks scored a combined 6 points. So if we're talking about our division, 17 points against these teams should be able to win games. So it's all, relative. It's all how you look at it. It's all perspective. So when we play the division games, it's going to be a whole different story. But you can't let these games that you should be able to win slip away, like the Vikings game, like the Browns game. That was just unfortunate that those games slipped away. Man. Feezy says we need that winning mentality back. I think they'll get it back. I feel like bringing Chase Young back into onto this team, not back onto this team, but onto this team is the juice they needed. It's like an adrenaline boost. It's like a shot of adrenaline to this team. Like, and I feel like, and I saw a lot of people posting this today. They said that Christian McCaffrey coming back to this or coming to this team was the same vibe they get out of Chase Young today, right? When he comes out to practice, they post the video, and it's like you see the content, you see Chase Young out there on the practice field for the first time, and it gives you this like juice. It's the same kind of vibe you get out of Christian McCaffrey last year when he came, and he instantly improved this offense. And now I feel like Chase Young can instantly help improve this defense. I do agree with those people that are saying that. Like, I feel like this is what we need. This is what we need is just a shot of adrenaline. It's a tough season. It's a long season. Sometimes you just need a spark, right? You need a spark, and that's what I think Chase Young is it's a spark, man. You know, to be up and ready and going and hyped up every single week is tough, man, being an NFL player. I mean, it's tough being a content creator every week. You're like, oh, God, gotta get up, gotta post this, gotta get the news out, gotta. I can only imagine the players, you know, go to practice every week. You got the bumps and bruises. You're nicked up. You're playing. You know, you're getting all the negative press from the media. You know, if you do bad, they're hating on you. You got to go out there and prove them wrong. You got to win. If you don't win, people are going to crap on you. If you don't do good on your people's fantasy teams, they're going to hate on you. So it's a lot of pressure. And every week, man, it's just another grind. And we've heard what Kittle said, right, over the course of the season. Every week, it's like a car wreck. So it's like a car wreck every week combined. 17 weeks of car wrecks in the regular season. It's tough on those guys. So, you know, whatever they got to do to kind of refocus, I think is important. And I think this Chase Young move definitely refocuses them. I saw Arik Armstead on his podcast the other day. He says they're going on a run. Like, they feel like their mentality is they're ready to come back on a run. They've done this before. You know, they've kind of been at this point over the last couple of years, 4-4, 3-5. You know, the record's never been like too great except 2019, right? They've been kind of in the middle of the pack, 5-3, 4-4, some record like that. And then they just flip the switch. And I think the 49ers are going to do that. And I think with the bye, they've been able to refocus and regroup. So also, yeah, being first place, I think is definitely motivation. I think this team says, okay, we have this golden opportunity. They've been gifted first place. They didn't play this weekend, and they're sitting in first place, and they know this is the opportunity they have to get in order to make this was a golden opportunity. Seahawks, if the Seahawks would have won, I mean, that's a whole different mentality. It's like, damn, we got to play this team twice in 3 weeks. Then we play so I think for the 49ers, seeing that the Seahawks lose like that, I think they're like, okay, we can do that too. We can crush them. We got them in a couple weeks. We're back in first place. We have to beat them to stay in first place. You know, I think it was just a different type of vibe for this team this weekend, knowing that, you know what, we control our own destiny. And I think that's what the 49ers are going to be walking into this bye week, is knowing, guess what, we control our own destiny. We are going to take this team and elevate ourselves, because I think they all took a look in the mirror and said, what do we got to do to get back to those first 5 games? And I think they will. I have a good, strong feeling about this team. Again, Chase Young, man, that's huge news. You got a bunch of younger players getting back to the roster. I think that's huge. And then Deebo Samuel coming back is absolutely electric for this team. So Carl says, Sea Chickens had no chance against Lamar, but to be honest, neither do we. Lamar's looking good, man. Lamar, I'm scared of that guy. I don't even want to think about that Christmas game. 1 week at a time. Blood Moon says, this game on Sunday is a statement game for the return. I agree. This is a game that the 49ers have to come in and win. I don't care how they win. I'm not going to sit here and say they got to dominate. They just need a win, man. This is not an easy game. After bye week, you lost 3 in a row. You just added Chase Young. You don't want to look stupid, right? Just trading for this guy and losing. And I mean, obviously, it's not the end of the world, but you want to be 6-3. You want to beat a quality team, because you got to get back onto winning. Jaguars are a quality team. They got a good quarterback. They got a good young team, good young defense. They're coming off a bye. They're the top of their division. The 49ers winning this game would be a huge statement. Again, I don't care how they win. 10 points, 3 points, 1 point. Whatever they got to do, they got to just win this game. But it would be huge for their momentum, because, again, schedule gets tough. You have to win some games that you got to take on the road. And this is an early game. The 49ers on the road, early games typically is not always the best for them. So coming into Jacksonville, get this game. Next week, the Buccaneers. If you get 2 of these games, that's 7 wins right there, and you're in beautiful position for this big stretch run, holiday madness run. The holiday madness run is gonna be crazy because you got the Seahawks, Thanksgiving, you got the Eagles, and then the Seahawks, and then you got the Cardinals. It's the bird games, and then you got the Ravens on Christmas. That's brutal, man. But then after that, you finish out with the Commanders and the Rams. So I mean, there's a lot of winnable games there. There's some tough games, not gonna lie, but if you're a great team, you can win these games. So, and what you guys said is exactly true. Blood Moon is it starts with this weekend. They have to come out and make a statement. You have to put the fear in other teams and say we are back. The bye week we rested and we're back to that team that was winning 5 games. You don't want to be a team that people are like, they came off the bye, they lost. Okay, whatever. They got Chase Young. They're still not scared. You want to get back to your winning ways and say we are a threat in the NFC. That's it. Bottom line. They got to win. My man 49er Fever says 51 viewers and only 17 likes. Hit that like button, baby. The math ain't mad. Make sure you hit that like button, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate y'all for hopping in. Big day for the 49ers coming up on Sunday, but it starts now. Again, Chase Young in the building. Deebo Samuel is back. The younger players are back. Someone asked who officially came back, so we'll repeat who did. Sam Womack, cornerback. Darrell Luter, cornerback. And Robert Beal, defensive end. Those 3 guys are young, solid players that they could develop. I mean, I don't think the Beal or Luter may be starters, but you never know. They could be solid talent that can help. D-line, you need some more depth, some rotationary players. Womack, man, I think this guy could be a starter. We've seen how Isaiah Oliver has struggled. This is a guy that could come in. And Darrell Luter, we haven't even seen the guy play. I just want to see what he's able to do. Maybe he's a star rookie. Who knows? I'm just happy they got some young talent back. So Julia says, when the Niners traded for Chase Young, and everybody says, I think I got my swagger back. Again, I feel like that's the vibe. I agree. Enrique says, why doesn't Jair Brown get playing time? Rookie, you know how Kyle is with them young bucks. I think eventually he will. If you remember Talanoa Hufanga's rookie season, he didn't play a lot. He played sometimes. He played special teams. They rotated him in here and there. I mean, that's kind of what they're doing, Jair Brown. They play him special teams. They put him in certain packages. But at the same time, Tashawn Gibson, he's your starter. He's the veteran. And Talanoa Hufanga, like those 2 guys got it unlocked. But eventually, Jair needs to get some chances to play because he is the future. I don't think Gibson is going to be signing another 1-year deal. I think he came back to try to run it back, get a championship before he retires. And yeah, Jair is the future. I like the guy. And I said this last week. Give him a chance. Give him some more opportunities. And it can't be any worse than Isaiah Oliver. You know what I mean? So I agree. Get the man some opportunities. So Anthony says, I think the only rookie Kyle trusted was Bosa. I mean, he was their first round. He was probably the most can't miss player that they ever drafted. So yeah, he definitely trusted that man. Deebo too, because Kyle personally scouted Deebo Samuel. He was at the Senior Bowl. This man coached him. Like I remember following that draft going, he's gonna draft Deebo Samuel. There's no doubt in my mind. So yeah, Deebo was another guy that I feel like he trusted like right away. He knew the offense was built for Deebo, and that's why it's so important that Deebo comes back to this team, right? He needed Deebo for this offense, and that's big time that he came back. Susan says he trusted Brock. Yeah, maybe that's another one he trusted. I mean, that was crazy. Brock Purdy, last pick in the draft, kept him around. He kept him over, the paid quarterback, Nate Sudfeld, right? Everybody thought Sudfeld was going to be there, but Randy says he was forced to start Brock. I mean, if you look at it, there's different ways to look at it. Like he did keep him over Sudfeld. He didn't have to keep this young man, but I think in his mind, he goes, if I drop him, if I cut him, somebody might snag him. And I think he liked him enough to keep him over a guy that you paid $2 million guaranteed. So that is telling. But at the end of the day, yeah, he wouldn't have played him if he didn't have to because of the injuries. But that was a whole situation in itself. Speaking of Brock Purdy, this is another week that not only the team needs to bounce back from, but Brock Purdy has to bounce back from, because we saw a lot of, over the bye week, a lot of hatred, a lot of negativity towards Brock. Now, I know if you watch, the games, he's had some strong play through these last couple of losses, but he's kind of fallen apart in the fourth quarter, and that's something he has to fix in his game because he has put up great numbers. Like if you look at the side-by-side by him and Josh Allen, he's actually got better stats than Josh Allen, but everybody gives Josh Allen a pass. But Josh Allen falls apart under pressure, right? So why is Josh getting a pass, but someone like Brock Purdy does it? I don't know, because if you watch a lot of games, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, those guys have folded a lot under pressure, but they're not under the same scrutiny as Brock Purdy. So, and I know a lot of people say, well, Brock has the weapons and this and that and the other, but he's not getting paid millions of dollars like these other guys, right? So, and they crumble. Josh Allen, no disrespect. Justin Herbert, no disrespect. They've fallen apart. They've thrown some big time, costly interceptions. It happens with a lot of quarterbacks. It's not easy to be a stud in the fourth quarter as a quarterback. That's what a lot of teams are searching for. Nobody is perfect, Nobody has a Patrick Mahomes except the Kansas City Chiefs. And even Patrick Mahomes has made mistakes when it matters, but not all the time. So that is the hard part. I feel like Brock just gets so much, tomatoes thrown at him, so to speak, because of the fact he's on the Niners. And people want to see his downfall, but he has a chance to really bounce back in the next couple of weeks. And I think he will. Enrique says Brock will bounce back. I think he will. I Yeah, Damian says this is Brock Purdy's first road bump. Let's see how he performs this week. I feel like, yeah, you're right. This kind of has been Brock's biggest adversity in his career. He's young. He hasn't had that much of a career, and this is small sample size. But this is the worst he's played. This is the worst time he's showcased over the last couple of weeks, and he is taking his bumps. But every quarterback goes through this. Every player goes through this in every sport. How is he going to respond to this? How is he going to respond to the adversity? I think he'll be fine. And I think the biggest key is the fact they're going to get Deebo Samuel. I don't think people realize how important Deebo Samuel is. I've said it so many times. Once they get Deebo back, I think this offense is going to click again. But also, too, Trent Williams. I think Trent needs to be there for this whole team. I want to see Brock, though, cook in the fourth quarter, because that right there is where everybody's going to scrutinize him for. And it's not easy to cook in the fourth quarter, right? It's 3 quarters. He's played really well sometimes. And like the last game, man, he dominating. He was probably one of the best players on this team last week against Cincinnati. And then third quarter goes away. Here comes the fourth quarter, and it was like a whole new different person. So, but shout out to the Cincinnati Bengals. They found their swagger. You want to talk about a team that found their swagger. Like this team, 4 games in a row, they have really transformed themselves back into an elite team. We're 0-3 to start the season. So I know everybody's a little panicky that the 49ers have lost 3 games in a row. But once you kind of refocus and regain that swagger, it's doable to come back. The 49ers have done it many years. The Bengals are doing it right now. They started 0-3, and they are on a run. And I feel like the 49ers can do that. Again, off the bye week, I think Brock Purdy, he's going to refocus. He was out there in his hometown farming. I don't know if you guys saw the videos. He's just sitting back, country boy, farming, enjoying himself, relaxing, refocusing. That's Brock Purdy, man. He's just a young, humble country boy, farming on the weekend, So I think he'll be back and ready to roll this weekend. I think he's going to have a solid bounce back game against the Jaguars. I hope he does. I think this defense will bounce back in a big way. But again, a lot of it has to do with preparation, how they're going to play on Sunday, situational football, and situational moments over the last couple of weeks have not been good for this team. If you guys have been watching it, right, just certain positions they've been in, and they make silly calls, silly play calls. We've seen it many, many times, right? The whole Steve Wilkes play call at the end of the first half against the Vikings, and there's been many more. So situationally, I feel like the 49ers just have to be a little bit more disciplined and go out there, execute, make the plays. But the talent is there. This team is so good, man. Like I'm not too worried. I saw a lot of negativity in the comments over the last couple of days, and I didn't post a lot, but when I did, oh my God, I can't believe it, this and that and the other. No team's perfect. A lot of teams are losing games, man, especially to big-time teams. And I feel like the 49ers are in a good position. The NFL is hard to win games in. It is tough that you see this team lose 3 games. Would I have loved to see them not lose those games? Absolutely, but it is what it is. Right now, the 49ers are in good position to go on a run, and that's all they can do. That's all we can hope for is for them to go on a run. So, yeah, they were 15-1 before they lost 3 games. What do they expect? I get it, man. Like, this is the thing. I think at some point you wear down a little bit, and now you just have to hit the restart button and refocus. I think the bye week, again, perfect timing. So, Julia says, do you think Oliver or any of the other starting DBs will be benched this week? I don't know if Mooney and Lenore, but I do feel like Oliver's on a short leash right now, especially because I think Steve Wilkes is on a short leash. And now if you get Womack back, and if Kyle, I think Kyle just needs to make a big boy decision at some point and say, hey, look, dude, this guy is not getting it done, Steve. This Oliver guy. This was your free agent guy. He's not getting it done. Make a move. If especially if this weekend, if Oliver craps the bed, I think Kyle needs to just say, hey, look, dude, we got to figure something out. At some point, Kyle is the big man. He's the big man on campus. He's got to put his big boy pants on and tell Steve Wilkes what it needs to be done. So, yeah, I definitely think that Oliver has a chance of losing his starting job. And that's why I think the big news of Sam Womack coming back, and opening his practice window is critical for the 49ers because they do need someone that's consistent in the slot. And Womack, he's been pushing his career since he came to the Niners to really get that spot. Unfortunately, the injury came and kind of knocked him out of that spot, but I think he's going to come back and try to compete for that nickel spot. So we'll see. Kyle does have, a tough time starting with younger players. Sam Womack's in his second year, though. So, it's not that he's a rookie. So there's no excuses. Now, if he's the better player, play the better player. What's up, Frank Tom Ocean? But I do think that Isaiah Oliver is skating on thin ice. Randy says Oliver was toasted by Jamar Chase, the fastest guy in Dallas. He's a good player, not being used correctly. I mean, yeah, at the same time, he's been the liability. And sometimes you got to make adjustments. And I think that's what Steve Wilkes has been failing at, is making the adjustments on his defense. And if he knows he's getting cooked by a certain player, you got to move players around. But, yeah, I just think he's been the weak link. And if, you have two good corners on the outside, teams are going to see who are we going to pick on. And Oliver has been that guy. But he's also missed tackles. I mean, he's made a few good plays here and there. He's just been inconsistent, I think. Like, he has talent, but he's been a weak link. And you got to get him out there if he's going to consistently, be the guy that gets exposed. But, I mean, we're tough guys that he's went up against. But at the same time, man, other teams have kind of stopped. Chase Young last night, he wasn't the big star for the Bengals. It was T. Higgins. So, I mean, at the end of the day, Isaiah Oliver has been a big liability for the 49ers. Every week he's let up a big touchdown. So I just want to see Womack play. If Womack gets cooked, back to the drawing board. They better go draft a bunch of cornerbacks next year, right? So we'll see. But I do think they also need to draft some linemen, because who knows how long Trent Williams is going to play. And we all see that he's good for a couple injuries every year. So Ambry and Oliver are the problem. Ward is looking bad. Yeah, Ward hasn't looked good over the last couple of weeks. He's definitely been struggling. I think he's going to take that personally, though. I feel like Ward is the type of guy that's going to really try to turn the season around because beginning of the season, he had such high hopes. He wanted to be a Pro Bowler, and I think that Mooney Ward is a guy that's going to really work hard the second half of the season to, turn around his season because you're right, he hasn't played good. But Ambry Thomas and Isaiah Oliver, definitely a problem. And that's why I think having Sam Womack and Darrell Luter coming back is huge because the depth has been an issue. Because if Mooney Ward were to get hurt, if Lenore were to get hurt, if Isaiah Oliver was going to lose his job, who the hell's going to replace him, right? You had Ambry Thomas. Ambry Thomas ain't replacing any of those guys. You think these guys are getting cooked? Imagine Ambry Thomas having to play Chase Young. Imagine him playing DK Metcalf. Ambry would have got cooked, roasted, and souffled on the same play. So that is why it's so big that they have guys like Womack and Luter coming back. So Randy says, I would lock up the best free agent left tackle and draft a cornerback, the first-round pick. Yeah, I hope they do something like that. I don't know who the free agent tackles are going to be next season, but definitely whoever's the top dog out there, go pay him the money. You bring him the money, bring him into the Niners. It's just hard to just develop a star tackle sometimes. And, and some of them coming in as a rookie may not be as great as, some that you can get on free agent mark. But again, it's tough. Everybody wants to lock up those linemen, and it's hard to draft a star lineman sometimes. I mean, there are some over the years that we've seen the 49ers have passed on. Tristan Wirfs is the biggest one that comes to mind. Rashawn Slater. Like, those are guys the 49ers could have had, but they did it. Tristan Wirfs, oh, man, that one. Tristan Wirfs, man. I wish the 49ers would have got him. Oh, oh, God. Jamar Chase Young. Did I say Chase Young? Who would I replace Trent with? If I had to replace Trent, it's Tristan Wirfs. That's the guy. That's the guy I want. Tristan Wirfs, man. Niners could have had him a couple years ago. If they ever have a chance to get Tristan Wirfs, go get that man. I mean, Tampa Bay's falling apart. I mean, they're kind of hanging in there in that division. That division's kind of bad. So I feel like if they can muster out five more wins somehow, some way, they might mess around and can win that division, because that division, NFC South's bad, but Buccaneers are not looking too hot. It would take our first, second, and a couple. It would take a lot, Blood Moon, to get him. It would take a lot to get him, but he's worth it, in my opinion. Supreme says we need to draft a right tackle. Whew. They need a right tackle too, because I'm not too happy with Colton McKivitz this year. But we all kind of knew that was coming. That was the 49ers' fault for, trying to bring this guy in and thinking they can go the cheap route. I think hopefully Colton McKivitz can get better down the second half of the season. That was his first half of being a starter in this league, and it wasn't pretty, but maybe he can get better. We'll hope and see. Yeah, right. I mean, the offensive line this year just hasn't been as good as I thought it was going to be. I thought Spencer Burford was going to take a big leap this year, second year. He's been kind of a disappointment. Unfortunately, a lot of penalties, and he's let up a lot of pressures. Him and Colton McKivitz just don't have good communication on that right side. Aaron Banks has been solid, but now he's hurt, turf toe for a couple weeks. That's going to be unfortunate. And Trent Williams being hurt for a couple weeks is unfortunate. I think Feliciano will be a good replacement. Jalen Moore is okay, but he's definitely not Trent Williams. Jake Brendel has been kind of average. I won't say that he's been like, oh my God. But yeah, the offensive line has not been playing up to par. So let's see. Randy says Kinlaw, Armstead, Juice, Jennings gone, right? Who else? I think Armstead might be a guy they try to keep around. Maybe they'll restructure, do something, extend his contract. I feel like they like Armstead, but if he were to be a guy that they cut loose, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. But I think, yeah, Juice definitely going to be gone. They can bring up Coletto or somebody else at fullback. And, I think Juwan Jennings definitely is going to be gone next year. He'll probably get a contract somewhere. They'll probably let Ronnie Bell take a bigger role. So we'll see. But at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, we still got the second half of the season to go. First place, and hopefully more after the second half of the season. They could make the playoffs. Right now, 49ers are in the lead of the division. If the playoffs started today, they'd be the third seed in the NFC. You know who they'd be playing? They'd be playing the Dallas Cowboys. Can you believe the 49ers and the Cowboys would play again if the season stopped today? But the season doesn't stop today. But if the 49ers were to kind of end up where they are now as the season ends, they'd be the third seed and they'd play against the Dallas Cowboys. Can you imagine the Dallas? Oh, my God. Unbelievable. Isaac says, do you think Brock will step it up? Absolutely. We just talked about this. I think Brock Purdy is going to step up in the second half. I think he's going to get better. And I think with Debo coming back, I think that's really going to help Brock Purdy get back on pace. And again, it's not like he's had a horrible season. These last three games, the whole team has struggled, and I think everybody's going to get back on pace. But I do think Brock Purdy will get back to where he was at the beginning of the season. And, it's all about how Brock can do in the fourth quarter of games. That's what I feel like he's been missing. He hasn't played bad. He just hasn't been clutch. And I think when you're not clutch and you're in close games, that's going to get frowned upon. You're going to lose games. You have to be able to win games. If you're down playing from behind, it's a whole different story. It's a whole different mentality than playing with the lead. And I think the 49ers these last 3 weeks have learned a lot. And I think Brock Purdy has learned a lot because he is young and, he hasn't been in that position where he had to come back a lot. And I think he's probably done a lot of learning over these last couple of weeks in terms of where he needs to be, how can he get better, how can he, lead a team from a come from behind position. And I think Brock will bounce back. So, and again, with Debo coming back, I think that's going to help Brock immensely. So. Debo missed games and Brock and McCaffrey took off without Debo. Yeah, that's true, Isaac. But at the same time, last year there wasn't a lot of film on Brock Purdy. Teams have kind of studied Brock, and I feel like, especially in these last couple of games, they've been playing from behind, and that's a different situation for the 49ers. McCaffrey hasn't been able to be himself without Trent Williams there. They haven't been as explosive in the run game. And also McCaffrey's been banged up himself. So there's a lot of factors to it. The 49ers definitely aren't playing like they should be. But again, there's just been a lot of factors. No Trent Williams. The run game's kind of lacking. Teams have a lot of film on what the 49ers are doing. And I feel like Kyle Shanahan's kind of been in his own head too. When you don't have Debo, when you're missing players, it limits what Kyle's kind of doing out there. But I think Brock will bounce back. He's played pretty well for most of these games. It's just, again, fourth quarter comes and it's like a meltdown. And I think he's just got to get reprioritized and refocused, and he'll get back to it. So Debbie says, will Trent be at practice Wednesday? I hope so. We don't know. We'll see. But I think if I had to make a prediction, I think Trent will be at practice on Wednesday. We'll see. I've been pretty good at my predictions lately. So we'll see. But yeah, so good news for today. Again, to recap, the 49ers are in first place in the NFC West. They didn't even play a game this weekend, ladies and gentlemen. They almost scored as many points as the NFC West opponents. They didn't even play a game. Chase Young officially on the 49ers squad today, and he's wearing the number 92. Debo Samuel is back at practice, and the 49ers opened the practice window of Sam Womack, Darrell Luter, and Robert Beal Jr. Huge news. Great week. It feels like Victory Monday, in my opinion. We'll be back. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Appreciate the support. Make sure you hit that like button. We'll be back. I'll probably be back live on Instagram later. I got to go see 2 patients, do some home health care, and we'll be back this evening after Monday Night Football. It is officially Jaguars week. The bye week is over, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get back to the winning ways. I hope the 49ers are 6-3 next Monday as we celebrate Victory Monday. You guys have a good rest of your day.